Welcome back everybody to a special occasion on The Forest. Today we are saying goodbye to Season 1 of the game. I've honestly become a bit burned out on it, which is why I've stopped playing it so much recently. I really just have lost ideas on what to do, and now we are on the verge of having the full release 1.0 coming out sometime hopefully in April. They have made announcements they're not going to be doing any more updates up to that point, as well as announcing some of the features they're going to add, such as seasonal changes, some new items, new buildables, support for VR, support for game controllers, a whole bunch of other changes that are going to be coming with the 1.0 release. So for today's episode, we are going to say proper goodbye to Season 1 by revisiting each of the base locations that I have built, and take a good cinematic look at them and see how they look, and see how the progression changed as I went along from the start of the season to the end. Plus, this is also a very good season if you're watching it to see from the beginning to now how my production quality has changed, as this has been the longest single running game season I've done, and this has been going since the beginning of the channel. So here we are at base number 1, which did not look like this, of course, from the beginning. This has mainly been a testing area where I built some of the different traps, tried them out, and of course built up nice set of walls to protect myself. You can see I have numerous happy birthday traps and the tree fall traps, or the noose traps. I also built this little outpost here that I could come along and walk back over, and there is no way in from this side so that cannibals and, more importantly, mutants couldn't get to me. But we do have a lot of stuff that I just tested out here. I tested out putting the effigies up and tried just different things. This was a learning experience and it was fun, but in the end I ultimately built better bases after this one. We're gonna climb up here and take a nice cinematic little look around. You see just how much I have all these traps all still set up perfectly fine. My little outpost over here. I also have these extensions here that lets me run over here. So this was kind of a oh no type moment base escape plan. If, let's say, cannibals, mutants broke into the main gate, I could run up here and jump off and take off running for another base. Now here, coming down the hill to the actual house of the base, we have my original bone pit where I would use all the bodies and burn them for bones. And you see I have a ton of bones here still. This was one of those bases at one point I was getting hit with 1 or 2 patrols a day, and sometimes at the exact same time having as many, I think, as 17 or 18 cannibals coming through and attacking me in one quick succession. So I had a lot of bodies that I was burning, getting plenty of bones, so that little setup right there worked perfectly for that. Here is, of course, my original outdoor garden area, which I no longer use because I moved everything inside. And my nice big open room. I had thought about filling it in more, but decided to move to a different base instead. I have my medicine shelves. I have explosives and Molotovs all through this area here. So second level, we have my skinning racks where I have deer, rabbit, and lizard, of course. I've got my meat drying racks. I noticed they did update the texturing for the water collectors to look more like the actual turtle shells. And of course we got our nice little dinner table for 2, a scenic view of the water out there, whether it's an ocean or a sea. We can look out, have that. We've got our fireplace. I've got some wall planters so I can put a little bit of aloe, put some deer heads up. We've got armor displays, and of course more arrows, which I'm hoping with the 1.0 release they'll finally fix that bug where if you mix and match arrow types in your baskets for storage, they'll all turn just to plain arrows. I lost a lot of bone arrows that way. And my first original rabbit farm. 2 levels, 10 cages each, I think it was 8 cages each, and plenty of rabbits. Once I have 2 in each, they just keep producing more and more. So this gives you an endless supply of meat, pretty much. And my extended garden up here, as well as target practice area. The bone fencing looked better before they made some of the updates that caused changes to the way the walls interconnect, and those changes caused the bone fence to break up instead of being one long continuous piece. So here we are at one of my later constructions. This is my trap base, which was conceived from watching Broadbent, who is another YouTuber who did a lot of forest content. He actually built a base similar to this, and so I wanted to test it out myself, try to build it a little bit different than his, and see how well it would work for me. And as far as getting cannibals, this thing works great. They just run right up, they get hit with the happy birthday trap, and then you collect their body and reset the trap from inside. How you manage to pull the body through the trap, I don't know, but that's how it works. And here, instead of building some kind of staircase, I used these little platforms, rock platforms, to allow me to jump up, where I put a big bonfire to test just how well it worked with actually drawing in cannibals, and found that I can have cannibals walk right past the bonfire and not even see it at all, have no effect on them. They'll be drawn towards it, but then they'll just ignore it like I'm not here. And now, one of the last items I actually built in the game was this gigantic walkway platform connecting between base number 1 there and base number 2 over there on the isolated island, which means it's time to head along to base number 2. So base number 2 was a pretty significant build. I need a lot of logs for it. So at one point I finally built one of the zip lines up here where I could harvest all these trees. I still have my sled up here, and it's nice to see all the trees growing back, because at one point there was not a single tree up here. That whole ridge was almost clear of trees. It was just a lot of chopping down trees again and again and again. But we get a nice zip line ride here, and I also was able to test and see just how the logs interact with the zip line when you are sending them down as a payload. Now here we are at the front of the base, which is again another case where I started expanding bit by bit and trying different things, such as this design that wraps all the noose traps in a circle, so they walk up, they get hit pretty much. I also expanded and tested with more happy birthday traps, as well as the deadfall trap, things such as that. Again, more testing of the bonfires to draw them into the traps. But originally the concept was just this outer wall as a place of first defense, that they come up, they're attacking here, and if they are able to break through the gate or the walls and chase after me, I have this nice little walkway here that takes me back to my base, and from here I would simply do something to blow up the walkway and lock myself into base number 2, which I was going to do more with, but at one point there became a problem with some of the sleds wanting to glitch in up through the floor, where if I grab a sled here, it would teleport me to the next floor and vice versa. So I was going to have stalls along this side for sleds to be used for storage instead of the log and stick and rock storage. But again, a bug caused a problem with that, so I have instead one little stick storage over here for my fireplace. I have built numerous shelves here for different things, medicine, food, or not medicine, just medicine actually. Yeah, this was just my medicine cabinets. I wanted to make sure I had plenty of stuff to keep me healthy. And then, of course, a bed with a little side table, couch, a little bit of decoration, putting one of the pictures up there that I found, and 3 drying racks which have some food still in them. I also tested out a variety of the birdhouse setups here. As you can see, I have 6 birdhouses mounted right to the wall, and that provided me more than enough feathers. I also built my most massive installation of a rabbit farm for any base. As you can see, they are full. 4 and 5 rabbits in every cage, and that is 10 cages per level and 4 levels, which the top 2 levels are accessible from up here. So you can just come up here, grab one here, or squat down and grab one from there. I also have, of course, more explosive storage, a bit more up here because this was supposed to be the safety base, the one where they cannot get to me. I have this little torch here for lighting my arrows on fire easily if I was, say, having a group of cannibals standing there on the broken bridge trying to get in. I also had, just for fun, a catapult. Because why not? It doesn't work all that great. Look, one of the rocks even hit right there is sitting. They're stuck. They are stuck up there. That is why the catapults are not that great. There's just too many problems with them. But hopefully 1.0 will fix that. And of course, I have rock storage for those. I have storage for spears. And of course, I have my bones. Or not my bones, my arrow storage. This was bone arrows. Every one of these was a bone arrow. I spent so much time collecting bones and making bone arrows, and then I decided to test and forgot to save. I put some regular arrows in one basket, trying to swap things around, and they all switched and reverted to bone or to regular arrows. I lost all that work. So yeah. But I still have plenty of bones up here. I also have more armor on display and storage, so if I needed to, I could come in and be like, hey, give me I need some bone armor, and throw bone armor on real quick, just recover. And like I said, I did have problems with the sleds, so the sleds are sitting up here, because when I grab hold down below, they would glitch up here. There we go. It did it. Teleported me up right to the top. So that bug is still in place. It still needs to be fixed. And of course on this side I have my water collectors. And I have a different little setup for my target practice. And you saw where my zip line brought everything in. Plus here is the connection to the bridge that goes across to the first base. And I do have stairs leading down to the beach. I never did anything else. I was thinking about maybe putting a little gazebo out in the water, but I ultimately changed my mind. This is just a nice place. If I got stuck out in the water there, I didn't have to swim all the way around to get back in. So now, here we are, right next to base number 3, which is directly across from the sinkhole and right along the little land bridge over here. Now, this base originally was just going to be a simple little water-bound, completely isolated base that no cannibals, no mutants could get to. And dealing with the rafts, taking items back and forth, I finally decided, you know what, let's do a bridge type setup. So I did that. So with this base, as I said, I was using the rafts to get back and forth, which gave me one raft set up for just logs, because I was bringing so many logs over here to build this. And then I did another raft for just rocks and sticks later on. I have 2 water collectors. I have 2 or 3 skin racks. Again, medicine shelves, of course, which I ended up not really using that much. And I did more. I did 5 total drying racks here. And that ended up being overkill. But the way this works is to get easily in between them, I can just squat down and walk through them like that. So if you are in an area where you are collecting a lot of meat, like here I was collecting a lot of crocodile meat because they are so plentiful over there, I was able to just go ahead and fill these up. And it looks rotten, but if I grab one, it's still going to be edible right now. I also added a little bit of under the stairs stick and rock storage. And of course I've got my trophy heads up here. This is from when I was experimenting and found a neat little way to use the hanging skull lamps as a method for storing skulls and ropes. So those are actually just being used to store skulls and ropes. I have more armor over here. I decided to start doing some decorative work with like a decorating with my weapons. Couches, of course, more trophy heads, another fireplace with stick storage for the fireplace so I don't have to run downstairs every time, and shark heads, because there are sharks not too far away you can get shark heads from, so why not put a shark head up here? And then, of course, a couple of more bird houses, a large growing plot farming area, and some more rabbits so I can keep myself well fed even here. And unfortunately, I haven't spent enough time here paying attention to the rabbits, so they have not filled up all of the rabbit cages. But I also did build this, which, as I said, it was going to be originally just a water-based location, no access from land, and I changed my mind. I ended up building out this little T structure here, which one side comes over here, and I was like, you know, if I want to have this, I need a way to protect those so they can't just run up and run straight into my base. So I have these nice little fortifications around them where all I do is squat under the rock wall. I have happy birthday traps all around this side, and the other side, because cannibals do not travel through that area, that's not one of their patrol paths, it's more of the crocodiles. I simply have the rock wall there to make sure they just can't run straight in, and it helps to keep the crocodiles from just chasing me from every direction. So this is where I would come to hunt some crocodiles, which is part of the reason why I have so much meat hanging up on the drying racks. And here we are now at the final experimental little base I did recently. This is partially where I was starting to run out of ideas for big bases, and this frozen lake is very popular with a lot of YouTubers who have played the forest and done large base builds up here. I wanted to do something a little different. I didn't want to do a large base build, and more importantly, I wanted a base built on stilts in the end. So this is what remains of the original base, the original platform, and now you can see here I just have rock walls that I built basically as small as possible all the way from the water level up to above water, and just kept stacking on top of them to where I got a building point for my actual floor, basically functioning as support structure for the foundation, giving me this nice little raised up access and making it a little bit more difficult for cannibals and mutants, if they do get in the water, to destroy the support struts. And it's just a simple little, you know, this is a cold area, I need a place to stay warm. This is my little area for doing that. Some meat, I have a bed, I have a fire going, I have, actually here I can just collect water straight from below. All I have to do is drop down and collect some water in the old pot, come up here, boil it, and I have perfectly fine drinking water. And of course, not to be left alone at just that, I decided to try and do something a little bit different, and I put a couple of catapults up here, which I showed, I believe, last episode, about how poorly these work. You cannot see where they aim, especially up here with all the white with the snow, and it just... Again, I hope they do something better with the catapults. It's such a neat idea, but they do so little when they are actually successful at hitting an enemy, and they also are just so hard to aim, especially when the entire background is in white. So once again, this was the end to Season 1. This is the finale, and we are going to hold off playing the forest anymore until the full release of 1.0. Now, I may pop in occasionally, do a little bit in creative mode, but more than likely I'm just going to say goodbye to the forest until 1.0 comes out, and that way I have a nice little break from it, and when 1.0 comes out, we'll start a whole new game, whole new season, and hopefully it'll be so fresh for me then, I'll be reinvigorated to play, and we'll have a lot more fun then. But for now, I just really need a break from it. That's just really what it comes down to, and since we're not going to see any more updates until 1.0, I figure why not just go ahead and call it quits for a while and wait until 1.0 is released. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed the video or enjoyed anything from this season, be sure to hit that like button and, you know, hit subscribe and tick the notification bell if you have not done so already, because while this is the end for the forest, I still have a lot of content coming your way during the week, and we will be back to the forest eventually once it's fully released. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think about some of these base designs. If there's any suggestions for a new location to build the base, or any suggestions for how I should approach Season 2 once we get ready and geared up to do that, I'd love to hear from you guys. But as always, I'm your host, Mr. Spicy. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to keep it spicy this week, and I will see you in the next video.